Hey guys, it's Beer Taster America. I'm here to do another hard liquor review, and today I'll be reviewing Evan Williams. Evan Williams. Their black label, their standard, most well-known version. Guys, it's Evan Williams Bourbon Whiskey. This is very well known. It's that bottle that kind of looks like Jack Daniels, but it's not Jack Daniels. It's cheaper than Jack Daniels, but it has a very wide following. A lot of people like it. A lot of people like it because it's a good value. It's a cheaper whiskey, but it's one of those cheaper whiskeys that, a lot of people still like. And I appreciate that. I appreciate whiskeys that are affordable. I'm a fan of Old Grandad. I like Old Overholt. My go-to whiskey for a couple of years now has been George Dickel No. 8, which I got a review still. But it's like every time I turn around, the price of that whiskey's going up. It used to be like $14.99, then it was like $17.99. Now it's like $20. I mean, they just keep raising the price on that. So, trying to seek out some other less expensive alternatives. And I've tried Evan Williams in the past. Haven't been super impressed, but the more different things I taste, I think maybe a little bit more refined my palate becomes. I want to come back to it and give it a fair shake and see what I think of it now. Guys, it's Evan Williams Black Label. One of the things that's good about this particular whiskey, besides just the fact that it's affordable, is also that the company that owns this, Heaven Hill, is an American company based out of Kentucky, family owned, for decades now, and they just, it's not a giant mega corporation like so many other brands are just owned by giant corporations. But Evan Williams and the other Heaven Hill brands, family owned, American company. I like that. Good value. It's American. There's a lot of good things to like about Evan Williams. This is a sour mash, which means I think that when they're making the mash, they save some to add to the next batch to just keep it going, keep it alive like that, which is good. It says extra age. There's no age mark on this, but from what I was reading online, they say it's aged 5 to 7 years. Although there's nothing stating that on the bottle that I can find. Evan Williams, guys, it's getting into late November now, starting to get that nip in the air at night. As the temperatures drop, it gets colder. Guys, that's the whiskey time of year. So, let me start it off with this Evan Williams Black Label review. This is what it looks like poured out in a glass. There you go. Let me tell you what it smells like. Evan Williams Black. It's got kind of like an oak kind of aroma, like that wood barrel kind of smell to it. It just smells like a wood barrel and whiskey. It's just kind of like that typical bourbon kind of aroma with that oakiness to it. And I'm seeing, I don't know if you can pick this up on the camera or not, but I'm seeing, because I moved around the glass, there's some legs to it. Some legs. Alright, let me tell you how it tastes. There's some burn up front. It's 86 proof. It's not the smoothest, and I'll say that right off the bat. It's not the harshest, but it's not the smoothest either. The flavor, and get that oak char is probably the most prominent flavor in this. There's a little bit of sweetness, but not too much. And it's kind of like that standard bourbon flavor, really. There's nothing really too special about it. Kind of oaky, medium sweet. Has some burn. The burn's not overwhelming. I gotta taste a little more of this here. Want to give it a fair shake, you know what I mean? Here's the thing I noticed the first time I ever sampled this, a few years back, I bought a bottle. I think at the time I was mostly drinking Old Granddad, bottled in bond. That was my go-to whiskey for a while there. And I want to try something different. You know, I appreciated the price range it was at. But anyway, one of the things I noticed back in the day, and to me it came across as harsh. You know, I'm tasting it now. It's not necessarily I wouldn't use the word harsh to describe it, but there's something kind of raw about this whiskey. I don't know what it is. It's just like a little bit of a raw character to it. Like kind of unrefined. Not harsh. I don't want to use that word harsh, because harsh isn't really the right word, but there's kind of a raw thing going on. I don't know. It tastes pretty good. I mean, as I'm sipping on it, I'm thinking it's really not that bad. Let me sample this second glass and see what I think. Get that oak up front. You get that corn, bourbon kind of flavor, standard flavor. It's really not that sweet. It's really not. It's not dry, but it's not sweet. It's just kind of balanced down the middle. It's not bad. And then you get that alcohol kick at the end. A little bit raw. But overall, it kind of smooths out and balances pretty well. You know, as it lingers. It's really not a bad whiskey at all, I have to say. It's not that bad. It's not fantastic, you know. It's not one to to savor for the ages or anything, but hey man, it's not a bad whiskey when it comes down to it. And the price, I got this $10.99. Like I said, if you shop around a place that has it, you know, has good value on their whiskey, you can get the big bottle of this, the 1.75, for like $16. That's not bad at all, man. That's a fantastic deal. I think it's, you know, it's less harsh than something like Jim Beam White. You know, Jim Beam White label, which just has that burn, that strong burn. This has some burn to it, but not like that gasoline burn like some cheaper whiskeys have. It really doesn't have it. It's really not that bad at all, man. Actually, the more I'm sipping on it, maybe that's just because I'm sipping on more whiskey, but it's not rock gut, that's for sure. It's not a bad whiskey. You know, if you want a cheap whiskey that's not that bad, this is a pretty good way to go, man. Evan Williams. Looks like Jack. It's a lot cheaper than Jack, that's for sure. It's a better value than Jack. And, you know, those legs kind of stick around on this, man. It's not a bad looking whiskey. It's not the darkest, but I mean, hey man, it's not aged for 12 years or something. You know, it's a younger whiskey than that. Not too dark, but I'd say the nice thing about this whiskey is it's got a decent balance to it. It's a good balance, you know. You got the oakiness. You got that corn kind of bourbon flavor, and just balances out. There's a little bit of rawness to it, or something kind of raw about it. You know, it's not a super refined, high-end whiskey, but it's a little bit raw. But I mean, what do you expect, man, for $10.99 a bottle at the grocery store? I mean, come on, man. Look at some of the other liquor at your like standard grocery store, at least around here in Arizona. Spend $10.99 for it, like some vodkas and stuff, pop off or whatever. Man, that shit's gonna burn you up, man. This doesn't burn like that. I mean, it's got some burn, but I'd say for a value, you know, cheap value whiskey, it's pretty damn good. You know, like I said, it's not gonna blow you away. You're not gonna save it for your personal collection to savor in, you know, 10, 20 years down the line. It's not that kind of whiskey, but for a cheap, drink it now, get the job done, taste decent, not burn. It's not bad, man. It's really not a bad whiskey. It's Evan Williams. I'm glad I gave it another try. I kind of like it. I mean, I don't think it's too bad. It's Evan Williams. What do you think? Evan Williams. Enjoy.